You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today on our first host call, we're going to be getting into your questions. So all of these questions have been submitted over the past week or two. Excellent questions as always. Expect to see these great questions now. But remember, if you ever have a question, you think it's a stupid question, don't worry about asking it. There are no stupid questions. And of course, I am here to answer your question, whether it's anonymous or you write your name, whatever it might be. We're going to get you the answers that you need. So let's get right into it. Our first question of the day comes from M. And M is asking, Dr. Cabral, I've been tested to have high levels of Candida Albicans. So Candida Albicans is a type of yeast or pathogenic yeast or fungus inside the intestines. So we'll go into that. Can I still eat kimchi and put apple cider vinegar on my salads? What foods should I avoid? Thanks. Okay, so the big thing, Em, is that we work with more than half of my practice is digestive-based issues. So it's ulcerative colitis, it's Crohn's, it is IBS, it's SIBO, it's Candida overgrowth. It's all of these different things. And there isn't a day that goes by. So literally, I don't have a day where someone doesn't come in with one of these issues. And so I've seen them thousands of times now. So the nice thing is this, we know exactly what to do. The problem is you cannot go on a specific Candida diet. And that's what's kind of, don't believe me, don't get me wrong, I was on these Candida diets close to 20 years ago. I didn't know about it 20 years ago, let's say 18 years ago. And they work to a certain degree because you're not feeding the yeast. So that's certainly helpful. There's no doubt about that. But the problem is you can't eliminate all these foods forever. And back in the day, and this is still kind of perpetuated today, is that people just eliminate all carbohydrates. Now, not only is that not realistic, it's unnecessary. And so there are only some foods that are going to exacerbate candida and bacterial overgrowth in the gut. And usually they are fermentable-based foods, FODMAP type foods. There are others, but we work specifically, we have a very specific list. So when people order our Candida bacterial overgrowth protocol from the store, they get the list, they get everything along with it. And the reason I mention that is very important, and that you understand, is that this Candida albicans most likely is not going to go away on its own. You do need to eradicate that just like you would a bacterial overgrowth. So if you want to get rid of yeast-based overgrowth, you need to use antifungals. Now, you can decide to go the conventional medicine route and use a product like nystatin along with maybe some doses of diflucan. I personally have no need for those drugs. I don't use them. I don't recommend them. We use natural-based protocols that use biofilm disruptors, that use very natural herbs that have been proven to help kill candida, like oregano and like caprylic acid and things like that. And then we also use a very specific protocol that doesn't contain any probiotics in the beginning because you don't want to add more bacteria to a gut that's already full of bacteria and yeast. So we use certain placeholders to take their place, and we very gradually just kind of work you up the ladder. And I'll actually give a whole yeast-based protocol in the future. I do need to dedicate a 10-minute show to that. But that's going to get you started. So now let me answer your specific question. You asked, can I still eat kimchi? And can I have apple cider vinegar? So kimchi would be a no. And the reason is there's often cabbage and other fermentable-based foods in there. And the bacteria and yeast love to eat those things. They're called prebiotics. So you might be reading like, oh, well, I've read before probiotics are fantastic and prebiotics are fantastic to grow the bacteria in your gut. And I would say, you are absolutely correct. But then I would ask, but for who? And the who would be people that already have good, balanced intestinal flora, which means bacteria. Then if you have good, balanced flora, which means more of the good bacteria, then when you feed the bacteria, you're feeding more of the good. But what happens when you have more bad bacteria than good? Well, it means more of the bad bacteria gets fed, and this absolutely does happen. I see it all the time in practice, all these people taking probiotics that should not be taking probiotics because they have bloating, they have stress, and they have issues in the stomach. Now, you can certainly test it. I'm not saying that you can't do that, but you do want to stay away from kimchi is what I'm saying for right now, till you get your gut cleaned up, and then enjoy your fermented vegetables if you choose to, enjoy your kimchi if you choose to, as long as you don't have histamine-based issues, because those could be exacerbated by that fermented aged food as well. Apple cider vinegar, same exact thing. Okay, apple cider vinegar, fermentable, absolutely fermentable, and goes through that basically aged type process, will cause issues if you have any type of mastocytosis or histamine-based issues, and can potentially also feed yeast. So we're not doing any vinegar. Apple cider vinegar has so many potential benefits to it. You'll hear me talking about it tomorrow on the podcast as well. So definitely tune in for that. But for right now, all we're talking about is where you're at right now, right? You're not asking me 4 months from now when everything is cleaned up and you're feeling fantastic. You're asking about today. And today you're going to stay away from kimchi, and you're going to stay away from your vinegar, and you're going to stay away from any foods that are really fermentable. Okay, hopefully that helps. Now, Daniel is up next. Daniel is asking, what is the functional medicine remedy for warts? I know sometimes they just go away, but I have one under a fingernail that seems to be here to stay. I've tried conventional over-the-counter products, but they don't seem to have much effect. Is there a diet issue here? Okay, great question. I haven't never talked about this in the podcast before. But believe it or not, there's some really fantastic short-term wart-based remedies. So whether it's under the nail or whether it's on the skin itself, and usually they're on fingers and the hand. Now, keep in mind, warts are typically caused not necessarily by diet, but they can in a roundabout kind of way. So warts are typically caused by stress, by viruses. That's how we're getting them. Not the only ways, but predominant. Now, I discovered this about 2 years ago, so fairly new for me to, be looking at these specific things. And this is a really strange remedy. Again, I don't usually give strange remedies. I go, from a functional medicine, from a clinical-based standpoint. It's proven by science. I'm looking at the research. I'm looking at PubMed. I'm looking at all these things, and I know that they work, right? It's because I feel comfortable then using them with people because I've used them many, many times. Well, there's a really strange one, and so I'm not afraid to share the strange ones with you because I'm willing to give you whatever works, and that's where today's comes into. So, one of the ones that works for warts is actually cutting a piece of banana peel off. Yes, banana peel. You cut it into a small little dime-sized piece or so, and then what you do is you go skin down on top of the wart, and then you cover the wart just with some bandaging tape or a Band-Aid, and you let it sit at least overnight. Now, you can keep it on throughout the day, and you'll see after about a week, it actually eliminates the wart. It's amazing. And so there's all sorts of theories of how it works, what's inside the banana, what it is. You don't need to know why it works if it works, okay? It's obviously a very healthy thing that you possibly can do. So I want to give you that as a place to start. And again, I wouldn't have even shared this with you if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes and see it work. Now, in terms of diet, I do want to give you a little tip is that sometimes some people are more susceptible to acid-based foods or foods that are causing inflammation in their gut. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't eat acid-based foods. What it means is that those could cause more stress in your body because acid-based foods require more minerals from your body to then re-regulate pH, which just means that if a food is a little bit more acidic, it takes more calcium, magnesium, and other minerals from your body, which can cause stress on the body. So in a roundabout kind of way, it actually can and does matter. But if you're eating an overall healthy diet, you've heard me talk about before on the show, a predominantly plant-based diet, predominantly whole foods. If you're doing that 9 out of 10 meals, then you're on the right track, and you're going to want to look at your overall stress levels, and you're going to want to look at any potential viruses. If you think that there is some type of potential virus, you can take things like a viricid, or you can take grapefruit seed extract or oregano oil for a period of just about 1 to 2 weeks to help give your immune system a little bit of boost. Echinacea works for this as well as a 1 to 2 week boost. So you can look at that. Again, if this wasn't the answer to the question you were looking for, please feel free to check back with me and just follow up. I can give you different remedies. Like some people use coconut oil on it. Some people use apple cider vinegar on a wart. There are a lot of different things. You can certainly use apple cider vinegar internally, meaning like you can do 2 tablespoons of it by itself, or you can mix that 1 to 2 ounces in a 6-ounce glass of water, or you can do like I do sometimes, which is mix your apple cider vinegar in I use the daily fruit and vegetable blend greens powder, which is just, again, on the StephenCabral.com/store. And I do a little bit of raw honey with that too. Not only is it great for alkalizing your body, but it also helps to provide a lot of needed minerals. So, Daniel, hopefully that answers your question. And if you're looking for even more remedies, like all sorts of different herbs you can use, I'm happy to give that to you. But what I want you to do is wait a couple weeks, try the specific things that I spoke about. And if you start to see new warts come about, I want you to email back in, say that happened, and then I'm going to give you a full-blown wart-based protocol, okay? Because remember, warts are just an outward sign of something going on internally. Keep that in mind. That goes for everything. All right, last question of the day is from Reagan. And Reagan is asking, hi, Dr. Cabral. I had a question regarding episode 283 on Tuesday. I love and agree with creating natural rhythms in my daily life. The problem is I work at Starbucks 4 days a week, which means one day I'll have to get up at 4:15 a.m. to be there for 5. Another day I have to be there at 5:30. Another day I have to be there for 7. It's all over the place. Wednesday is my day off, so I get to sleep in later. I can't get up the same time every day. I do try to eat dinner no later than 7 and try to be in bed by 9. Any suggestions on how to create a natural rhythm in mornings, or is it hopeless? Exclamation point, question mark. Thanks so much. Okay. It's not hopeless. It's never hopeless. There's always an answer. Sometimes the answer isn't apparent. Sometimes the answer isn't obvious, but there is always an answer. Never stop searching. You will find your answers. It might not happen today, might not happen tomorrow, or even this month, but you will find your answers. It took me years of suffering to find my answers. I'm making sure, hopefully, that no one has to spend years doing that. So again, just keep passing these things on to other people. Remember, all of us together, we will create that change. We'll be sharing more with each other. And when one of us doesn't have the answer, another person will. And that's what the beauty of the natural health community is really all about. So Reagan, this is not hard for you to fix. You can absolutely do this. So you're doing such a great job by already going to bed by 9. So here's the thing. The earliest you have to get up is 4:15. So if you sleep from 9 to 4:15, if my math is correct, you're getting 7 hours and 15 minutes. You're already doing a pretty good job. This is what I tell people, though, is try to keep your bedtime and your waking time no more than 30 minutes plus or minus every single day of the week if you have true insomnia or true rhythm-based problems with your body. I'm telling you, it's so vitally important, and it's something that we don't realize is that our body expects to eat at a certain time. It expects to work out at a certain time. It expects to literally get in a car and deal with that stress at a certain time. All of these things really do matter. Your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system really do get in rhythm with these specific things. So if you didn't listen to this episode, please do tune back into episode 283. It's simply stephencabral.com/283. One of my favorite episodes too, and the reason is that this is what cured 25 years of insomnia for myself. Every night, 3 to 4 hours, or never falling asleep for myself, cured within 3 weeks. 25 years cured within 3 weeks right away by creating rhythms in my body. So again, did it happen overnight? No, it took 3 weeks. But a 3-week trade-off for not having insomnia and actually starting to feel like a normal human again, not a bad trade-off. So here's what we want, Reagan. Every single day, you're going to go to bed by that 9 p.m. That's fantastic. And every single day, except for that one day where you have to be up at 4:15, I want you to wake up at 5. All right? So another day to be there 5:30, whatever it might be. I would like you to try to make 5 a.m. your typical wake-up time every day. And the reason is this. You're going to bed at 9. That's 8 hours of sleep. You will be good with 8 hours of sleep. Not only will you be good with 8 hours of sleep, you're going to feel fantastic. And here's why. The more hours before midnight you get, the stronger your body feels. It is during that peak time of rejuvenation, which happens between 10 and 2 at night, when you're asleep, not awake, you're going to get that detoxification. You're going to get that liver purification. You're going to get your body cleansing itself. So amazing. So one day of the week, you're going to get 45 minutes less sleep, but you're still going to get 7 hours and 15 minutes of sleep, and that's pretty good. So that's my answer for you. I'm telling you, 9 to 5. 9 to 5 working, 9 to 5 sleeping. That's fantastic. I'm telling you, 9 to 5 every single night except that one early day, and you are going to create that rhythm that you want. Breakfast is always going to be maybe somewhere around 6 o'clock. What I do is when I wake up, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, splash some water in my face. I go out, I have my greens drink, the daily fruit and vegetable blend. I mix that with a little bit of just a half a teaspoon of the raw honey. I put in my half a lemon squeeze, which I just literally buy a big bag of lemons, put them on the counter so I always see them. I cut one in half. I squeeze half into my greens. I put the other half in the fridge for the next day. I keep things simple. It's rhythms, right? You can do the same exact thing. And then take your smoothie on the road with you to Starbucks. You don't need to be eating or drinking anything at Starbucks. I'm not saying it's the worst place in the world. I'm not saying anything negative about Starbucks, but you can get a lot healthier food on your own, right? So you can get those specific types of things. So hopefully that answers your question. I know it's going to help. And thank you everyone for your questions this week. We have 3 more coming tomorrow, so be sure to tune in then. Have a great rest of the weekend. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.